Circus parades are always fun, so have one today. Who would you like to be? A lovely white circus pony, prancing and dancing in time to the music? A clown making funny faces as he hobbles along? Or a lion tamer looking brave and strong? Make your choice and be ready. It's time for the circus parade to begin. Lion tamer, looking brave and strong. Circus parades are always fun, so have one today. Who would you like to be? A lovely white circus pony, prancing and dancing in time to the music? A clown making funny faces as he hobbles along? Or a lion tamer, looking brave and strong? Make your choice and be ready. It's time for the circus parade to begin. Brave and strong.
And hello, everybody. Welcome once again to another edition of Gaffing the Truth, where we're going to sit there and talk about some weird shit for a minute. How's everybody doing? My name is Jeff with the G, and well, as always, with me is my good friend right there, Scabs the Clown. How are you doing, Scabs?
Pretty good, pretty good. How are you?
I'm doing okay, except for the fact is I really like tweaked my knee, like bad, on I think probably Saturday. I'm guessing Saturday night because I was out drinking. I'm pretty sure that's when it happened because after
That makes
hustling like
sense.
after hustling my fifth or sixth drink at bars, time gets a little fuzzy and things get a little fuzzy, especially when I really
Yeah.
like I especially when I literally stumbled in. I literally stumbled into the VIP passes to go see Sasquatch, um, which was crazy. And then like he was opening for some other jam band who I don't even know. It didn't matter. Yeah, these two lovely, lovely ladies I ran into, and they, talked to them for a minute, and they were going, "Hey, we had extra." They basically went, "We have extra seats at our VIP table. Come join us." And I go, "Sure." It was like right around the corner from where I was at anyway. I didn't have to travel far, and yeah, had a really great time jamming out to Sasquatch and whoever the band is that played after him. Um, and I think at that some point that team just dancing around, I think I probably hurt my knee. I saw the doctor today about
That
it
makes
too
sense.
because it wasn't getting. Yeah, so I saw a doctor today to try to see how what the damage was because I wasn't getting as quickly returning and getting fixed. Because normally if like my knees hurt and like I sit down for a day or so, it starts to get better, but it wasn't doing that. Nope. So far, no real damage. As far as no breaks or tears, which is good. But I have apparently I have loose ligaments, and so they gave me a cortisone shot. Told me to do these exercises to strengthen my knee and stay off of it for a couple of days. So that's what I'm doing. That's
Huh.
been my excitement. How are you been doing?
Been all right. Um, very, very big weekend. Um, went to, I opened up for Rocky Horror at Where Live.
Yeah.
And Saturday during the day, I performed at a kids. And then Saturday night, some good friends of ours, Captain and May, in town tattoo convention, hung out here, drank, ate some food. And Sunday, I went and saw them perform at the tattoo convention, and I didn't know that the sideshow was also going to be there. So, yeah, double the show. It was a lot of fun.
Well, good. I'm glad you had a good weekend. We both saw things we weren't expecting to see.
Yeah.
So that's all. That's all good. Um, Great.
Yeah.
Sorry. I was also kind of brief, like the right before this show. A guy I met in Coney Island. He was doing an online radio show, so I was chatting with him back and forth in there too. And he was helping hype the channel up and all sorts of stuff. So also a lot of fun. Dutch Maz. You guys can follow him on the actually on all this stuff because he also does a lot of stuff on YouTube where he walks around and tells like a lot of the history of New York and a lot of stuff, which is a lot of fun. And then he's just
Nice.
playing random music, like basically he's just doing like all requests, like request radio on Twitch, which was kind of fun too. So it's very cool. So definitely check
Right
that
on.
out. I've added him to my auto host whenever I'm not performing on here. So if you guys catch it, do so because it actually played before the show here because I did auto hosting for it. But today being the 8th of June, we started to talk about cryptids because we like talking about cryptids, but we thought we would specialize today because usually we just kind of all over the place or these weird hodgepodge for a setup. We figured we'd go to a specific location and talk about a specific talk about the cryptids of that location. So today we're going to be talking about the cryptids of Australia.
Hell yeah. Man, like, it's weird to like Australia having cryptids because their regular animals are fucking terrifying.
Well, yeah, that's what I said. Like, I think all their animals technically are cryptids until proven out. Like, all their animals that they do exist now were at some point just cryptids until we went, nope, that's real. Weird beaver with a
Yeah.
duck bill, that can't be real. Look, and it's poisonous. Yeah, duck-billed beaver that's poisonous, that's not real. Oh, there we
And it
go.
lays
There's the
eggs.
and it lays eggs. That's the platypus. That exists. How about a weird spiny bird-looking thing that's not a bird that kind of looks like a hedgehog as well? Oh yeah, no, that's in
Hmm.
the echidna. Giant mice that like to box you and hop around.
Hmm.
Kangaroos. I mean, it's just all sorts of weird, crazy shit.
An
So
octopus that's this big that will murder you.
yeah, it's everything, and like I think everything we just accepted. Like so like while we're talking saying the cryptids, I'm fully believing that these things are actually real. We just haven't gone deep enough to figure it out yet because most people don't go to the center of Australia because it's a death trap. Everybody in Australia lives on the outskirts. Everybody, except for the Aboriginals, the only ones who go in deep, and they ain't talking. Actually, they are talking because a lot of the stories for all of this stuff comes from them, which what they used to call the thing is like used to call a thing called the dream time. So the dream time is what the Aboriginals basically call the beginning of time before history, like that whole before history was recorded sort of thing. It's like the creation of knowledge, where culture began more than 60,000 years ago for the people. So a lot of things they talk about is all this stuff. Almost all of it was like just like word of mouth, handed down from generation to generation, telling stories. My grandfather, grandfather's grandfather's grandfathers, that sort of thing, storylines. And so a lot of these creatures
Hmm.
that we're going to be talking about today are going to come from the stories from the Dreamtime. And a lot of the creatures that are real, also were talked about from the Dreamtime. So it's like, what's real and what's not real. So yeah, so that's what we'll be talking about, stuff from then. Ta-da.
Yeah. Who knows? It's Australia. These things could be real, could be fake. Who knows?
Yeah. So what would you like to start with by talking about?
One of the ones that I've heard of several times that I couldn't really get, I didn't really know much about it until I read this. It's so described as a large, muscular carnivorous koala with large canine teeth. The tails of the drop bear have long been used to frighten gullible tourists around a campfire late at night in the remote outback. The drop bear is said to leap from trees onto its unwary prey, sinking its huge fangs into the tops of its victim's skull. It is often said that smearing Vegemite or toothpaste behind the ears will put off any drop bear attacks. Although difficult to determine the origins of this myth, it has been suggested that it was first used to deter people, children especially, from sleeping under gum trees, as the trees can drop heavy limbs without warning and are referred to as widowmakers. At one time, there were animals twice the size of the modern day koala living in the trees. It is quite possible that an animal not unlike that described by this myth did in fact actually exist. Stories of drop bears are usually delivered with a serious demeanor, and overseas visitors may have difficulty establishing fact from fiction, as most Australians are aware that the drop bear joke and more than ready to confirm its existence to visitors. So it's just an angry, carnivorous, fanged koala bear that jumps out of trees and bites you in the skull, unless you put Vegemite or toothpaste behind your ears.
I mean, isn't that a lyric from the Men at Work Down Under song? I mean, I don't know. Yeah, the drop bear.
It might be.
Yeah. I don't know. It sounds like a snipe hunt. Which I think is the intent.
Yeah.
So
Also, here, check this out. There's a warning sign for drop bears. They're just like, they're just.
that's us.
I didn't know I was a drop bear.
We're just drop bears. Yeah, I think that's just us. I don't know. That's kind of just weird. Um, Now, another fun cryptid that I came across when it comes to the Australia, which is the Yara Ma Yehu. Yara Ma Yehu, uh, which, according to legend, is a creature that resembles a little red frog-like man with a very big head, a large mouth with no teeth, and suckers on the ends of its hands and feet. It's said to live in fig trees, and instead of hunting for food, it's described as waiting for an unsuspecting traveler to rest underneath the tree. Then the creature would drop down and use its suckers to drain the victim's blood. After that, it swallows the person, drinks some water, then takes a nap. And then at some point, it actually regurgitates the victim, leaving them shorter than before. And then the victim's skin also has a reddish tint to it that it didn't have before. It then repeats this process several times. At length, the victim is eventually transformed into the creature. Now, yeah, no, it's only active during the day and only targets living prey. So playing dead until sunset is offered as a ploy to avoid attack. So pretending like you're dead, you'll be okay. So yeah, the Yara Ma Yehu.
Okay.
Little
So-
weird frog man that sucks blood out of you, and then slowly, swallows you, regurgitates you, swallows you, regurgitates you until you eventually become one of them.
So, like, does it eat me? Like, it doesn't eat? It just sucks my blood out, or what?
Sucks your blood out and then turns you into one of basically it's like a weird frog vampire.
Okay, I get that. Interesting.
But it turns you a vampire by continually to swallow you and throw you up, because every time it throws you up, you're smaller and smaller until you get its size. Because it's a frog, so like a frog can get those huge kind of like big bellowy cheeks, I guess, or whatever. I don't know. It's just I think they were licking some toads when they were thinking about the story.
Yeah. They got all kinds. They got licking toads and dying toads and throwing toads and all kinds of stuff out there.
Yeah.
Speaking of toads, you want to keep it on animals, animal-like
Sure.
creatures, something
Yeah.
you can recognize.
Yeah.
Hoop snakes. You ever heard of a hoop snake?
God damn right I have. it's my favorite cryptid of all time.
It's the silliest one, but there's also another one related to it. Hoop snakes have the unusual ability to grasp their own tails, and by using rhythmic muscular contractions from themselves into a hoop shape and roll along at a much greater speed than any normal snake can. The hoop snake is not generally thought to be dangerous to people, except for children who wag, school, and spend their time riding bicycles through the bush. The snakes have a strange desire to bite bicycle tires and the heels of those riding the bike. Since the snakes are not fast enough to catch motorbikes, they are only a serious threat to pedal cycles. A close relative of the hoop snake is the trip snake. Trip snakes are well camouflaged, looking much like an ordinary stick lying on the ground. They are often found near walking trails throughout the brush and are to be avoided at all costs. Unlike the relatively harmless hoop snake, the trip snake is highly venomous and will first arch its back to trip a victim before sinking in its fangs and injecting a dose of paralyzing venom that quickly begins to liquefy tissue. If undisturbed, the trip snake can then drain the victim dry. So there's a snake that bites its tail and turns into a wheel and rolls. And then there's a stick that looks like a snake that arches its back to trip you and then drain you dry with its venom that liquefies any tissue.
Well, of course. I mean, yeah. I mean, it just makes complete sense.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, no, it's the that's what I was looking for. So yeah, no, the hoop snake. Yeah, that's actually also an old tale by Who used to tell that tale? There's old Western tales that talk of the hoop snake as well, which is why I'm a big fan of it. Uh, so like those all tall tales and stuff like that, tales of the
Yeah,
jackalope and the hoop
yeah.
snake and prairie
I
trout and
don't
all
think
that stuff. Yeah.
this is one that I don't think is just exclusive to Australia, because I feel like I've heard it like in other stuff before.
Now the other thing they didn't talk about,
Well,
like the hoop snake in America, they have a fang at the tail, so that way that's how it would strike you. That's where because the tail would hit you eventually, because it would roll down the hill, and then it would hit you with the venomous fang that was at the end of its tail. At least in the American one.
and it turns out it was just a coach whip.
Yeah. Um. So we can talk about the Megalania.
Megalania.
So the Megalania, this is a thing that's believed to be it's like actually this is a real creature that is believed to have gone extinct. So it's a real thing. The Megalania is actually a giant goanna lizard. So it's a big lizard. Um, that's supposed to have gone extinct. Let me get the exact date. Like it's so basically a giant monitor lizard that existed, thousands of years ago, but hasn't been seen in thousands of years. Just think of it like a monitor lizard, and think of it like much bigger. Like estimated length is 11.5 to 23 feet, weighing anywhere from 214 to 4,200 pounds. So big lizard. Um, yeah. So it's a real thing. They haven't existed forever, at least that we're aware of. But here's the crazy thing: is that they keep finding, uh, like footprints and shit like that been made as recently as like 20 years ago in places. So it's one of those. It's one of those. It's once again. It's one of the things that technically it is a cryptid because nobody's actually physically seen it and like has actual proof. But it's also a thing that we do know that it had existed at one point, not a conjecture thing. That of all places that it could exist, probably fucking Australia, because as I said, there's a lot of country people want to hang out with, and so.
Mm-hmm.
But the Megalania.
Megalania.
Yeah.
So just big ass lizard. It doesn't do anything? It's just big?
It's a big ass lizard. I mean, it's a big cute look at like the Komodo dragons. I mean, they just look kind of cool and like it's like that. I mean, it's just big ass lizard. It's there's no weird goofy mythology that if you're not good, it's gonna come and eat your eyes or something like that. No, this is actually like of all things, this is just really a story about a thing that probably really exists that we just haven't come across it yet. Like legit versus like weird ass like Bigfoot bullshit.
Yeah. Oh, we'll get into that too. I'm saving that one.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, I thought about that too. Like big. Yeah. So what have you got?
So this one, I guess, is a little different. I'd never heard of this one before. Called Min Min lights. Min Min lights are mysterious, but that's worded really weird. Min Min lights are mysterious, but are not creatures of any sort. They are usually seen out in remote areas late at night and can appear to follow as you move along. There have been literally hundreds of sightings of Min Min lights over the years, and no doubt exists as to their reality. But what is mysterious is why these lights occur at all, and why. And whoever wrote this article can't spell. And when do they sometimes seem to respond to people's actions? Experiments have revealed that phenomenon is probably refracted light from some source that is not visible in the normal way. Professor Jack Pettigrew of the University of Queensland in Brisbane claims the lights are actually an inverted mirage of light sources, which are, in some cases, hundreds of kilometers away over the horizon. Is this the only explanation? It is perhaps somewhat more romantic to think the lights as the spirits of lost bushwalkers and others who died out in the outback. Not all scientists, of course, but somewhat more interesting. Min-Min lights appear to operate in the same manner as landforms over the horizon that sometimes appear in inverted form floating in the air. This phenomenon is known as Fata Morgana. Thermal inversion layers in the air trap cold, dense air.
Okay.
So, yeah, I mean, it's like the we've got lights like that in Texas. God, what are they called?
What, the Marfa lights?
Yeah, the Marfa lights. There's also
No,
the
it sounds like more like the weird, like more like will-o wisps. So because they're kind of closer and stuff like that.
yeah.
It's usually what they like in the swamps. They usually attribute it to swamp gas sort of shit. So uh, interesting. But yeah, it's kind of what like when you first talking about it, I go, sounds kind of like will o' the wisps, and like and then like I started thinking of like the weird like how what they called like or like things like ball lightning and all that other stuff where they basically all these weird phenomenon and so oh okay Min lights sure why not for all we know it's some real thing because it's fucking Australia I don't know
Yeah.
um we can talk about the you want to talk about the Gippsland Phantom Cat
That's
so
that's a really weird one. Like I watched a video on that the other day, and yeah, that's a fairly recent video too.
well, yeah, well, see, because it all starts. The fact is, because it's an urban legend, is how this more comes out like that. But yeah, urban legends, cryptids, fall in line. So in World War II, United States soldiers were actually stationed in Victoria, Australia, because Australia was a nice staging ground to go to Japan and all that stuff as far as Pacific theater. Now, supposedly, some of these airmen brought some fucking cougars from America as like mascots to Australia. And then when World War II was over with, they fucking left the cougars in Australia and just released them into the outback. Supposedly, once again, supposedly all this happened. Now, supposedly these cats, you know, I guess they either bred with other large cat-like creatures in Australia because there are, or they're at least a mating pair, so they did a couple of stuff that way. So supposedly these cats still exist to this day, and they act like if for anybody's America who's like in like even around here, because cougars exist in Texas all through the Midwest, and mean weird cats that will just sneak into your pot. They're like coyotes where they'll just come into like like towns to grab shit and cause problems and shenanigans. So yeah, so it's like I was like, so we as Americans, we import like usually we get imported lots of crazy shit from Australia that kind of destroys our populace. I think it all started because we in World War II sent them like some nasty cats to fuck with their shit. So it's only fair that they bring us back the weird, invasive frogs and kudzu and whatnot. Yeah,
Or koalas.
or the koalas.
Mm-hmm.
Koalas who will little fucking let themselves die if they don't eat the fucking the eucalyptus tree that they live on. If they don't eat that eucalyptus, they will kill. They will let themselves die because they're addicted so bad to that tree.
Mm-hmm. Koalas are fucking weird and invasive and aggressive and mean
and littered with chlamydia.
Mm-hmm.
Most of them have chlamydia.
Filthy little sex monsters.
Yeah.
Speaking of sex monsters, I'm gonna butcher this word. Muljawank.
Sure.
Muldjewangk.
Sure, Moljawank. That's as good as anything. So yeah, go with that.
Yeah, good enough. So the Moldjawink are monsters, or maybe just one monster, that inhabits the Murray River and Lake Alexandrina, into which it flows in South Australia. The tales of the monster are told to keep children away from the dangerous water. One story tells of a European steamboat captain that shot a Moldjawink and was rewarded with a slow, lingering death from creeping red blisters that covered his body. The Moldjawink is also blamed for boat wrecks. Beware the seaweed growing in the lake. That's where the Moldjawink hide.
Sure.
So it's just a big worm-looking creature that gives you bumps if you shoot it, and just obviously one of those like, hey, don't go in the water. There's a giant worm thing in there. You have
Well,
to
of
tell kids
course.
stuff like that, because if you say, hey, don't go in the water, you'll fucking drown because you're an idiot, they're not going to listen to you.
Well, no, because they don't understand what that means. But if you go, here's a crazy thing that'll like eat your privates or whatever, they're gonna be all over that. So I get it. I get it.
Yeah.
Where's the thing I was looking for? I actually made a list of weird stuff just so that way I know what's going on. Um, so let's talk. So back in the 1950s, there was something really weird happening in the Northern Territory of Australia, which is like very rural, kind of like cattle. It's like cattle country, you know. And then when I say it's cattle country, it's because cattle were found mutilated all over the territory, and they're trying to figure out what's going on. Some of which had been bitten in half by a large set of jaws, apparently. Now, in 1957, there were tales of a tall monster had made their way to like this really bushman explorer. So he went to go into the bush to kind of track this down. Um, as he's moving around, he kept hearing terrifying screams all night, and then was chased all around by something that made large grunting noises and shook the ground when it walked. Um, Now, they were said to have been believed to have encountered a thing called the Burundjor. Burundjor is basically, they would call it it's like a huge nocturnal reptile uh, that they call like the Tyrannosaurus Rex of Australia. So basically, it's dinosaur. They're being attacked by a dinosaur.
Hmm.
Or
Interesting.
a thing like what the creature I mentioned earlier, just a very large lizard who is still dinosaur like, I guess, in the respect, but not nearly as old. Um, they've found things now for this sort of stuff. They have found footprint stuff. A lot of the paintings in the area from the Aboriginal tribe show paintings of a large lizard of that size that would be in the area. That sort of stuff. Um, so it's hard to say whether it's real or not. But once again, it's Australia. Who knows? Uh, although there hasn't been a sighting for the last 20 or so years, so if it did exist, it may not anymore. So yeah, the Burundjor.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I thought you were kind of talking about this one for a second, but this one's a little bit different, but also kind of the same. It's got a funner name though. The Bunyip.
Ah, the bunyip. We actually talked about the bunyip for water cryptids. Uh,
Oh, we
so
did, didn't we?
yeah, but you can like people who are watching. It's been a while since we talked about it, so you can
Yeah,
bring people back up to date on that. So yeah.
yeah. And this one's a little different too. A bunyip is a spirit monster from Australian Aborigine culture. It sleeps in rivers, swamps, and billabongs, that gnarly place that was in the mall, during the day, but prowls the land at night looking for people or animals to eat. Its screams can be heard for long distances. Some Aboriginals claim to have seen a bunyip, but descriptions vary. Does it resemble a snake, a wild human, or a furry mammal? Some theorize that while the bunyip may be legendary, the tales have been passed down for thousands of years, from back in the days when now extinct large predators prowled Australia. There's also apparently a children's song that features the bunyip.
Yeah. Baby bunyip, do 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 do, baby bunyip, something like that. Probably, I'm
I
sure.
hope not.
Grandpa bunyip, do 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 do. Ugh. It's gonna get stuck in your head now. You're welcome. Um, Speaking of more water-based creatures, let's talk about the Gowergay. The Gowergay has been terrorizes the Australian water holes for some times. So what they do is they're especially like ancient. These are things are considered ancient creatures. Um, what can best be described as as a flightless water emu, another real creature that people thought was fake. The Gowergay would kill their prey by creating a giant whirlpool that drowns any creature unlucky enough to get caught in that suck zone. Uh, Now, so yeah, basically it is. It looks it suggested it looks like a like an emu without any feathers and just kind of lizard like because well birds are descended from dinosaurs, so it makes sense. So so it's one of those sort of things. It kind of looks like that. It looks like this weird thing that people would like stumble upon, like just going, all right, cool. Like here's all right. Here's a cool place for us to have a little swim, a little nice swim. I'll go out in the middle. What suction? Gowergay. Boom.
Makes sense. Checks out.
Yeah.
So I just found this one. It's not necessarily a cryptid, but more of a happening. I guess kind of like the Min Min lights.
Yeah, that counts for us. Yeah, it's all weird shit. So from Australia.
Yeah, yeah. But the falling stones of Mayanup. So Mayanup as a place is no more than a pinprick on the map. It is located south of Boyup Brook on Blackwood Road. You know where.
Oh yeah, just down from.
Yeah, Boyup Brook.
Yeah.
It would probably have remained unknown and unremarkable except for a report in the Daily News in 1957, which in part read, quote, stones have been gently falling on the Kennenup Boyup Brook property of farmer W.W.M. Hack for nearly 2 years. The occurrences have been intermittent and generally at the greatest intensity during the winter months. The stones were apparently warm to the touch and seemed to materialize from nowhere. Reports say that some stones fell slowly, others materialized inside buildings, etc. The events in questions are said to have taken place over a number of years, 1946 through 1962 to be precise. Similar events have also been reported at Humphreys Bridge near Wandering, yeah, you know where Wandering is, as well as Boddington and Borden. The stones range from pebble size all the way up to 19 kilograms. I know how much that weighs. The news soon spread and people started traveling to the town to see them for themselves that was going on. Later in 1957, the Daily News again reported, quote, just after the natives shifted camp, the stone phenomenon was witnessed by dozens of independent white witnesses. Ooh. At 5:30 p.m. yesterday, when he returned from a nearby stock sale, he found a crowd of people in a half acre behind his house. Stones were falling. They were picking them up as fast as they fell. Jack Coulter in Daily News, 1957. In 2009, ABC TV aired a documentary about the spirit stones that included interviews with people who had experienced the phenomenon. As far as we know, there has never been a definitive explanation of just what the stones were and where they came from. Some have blamed the stones on a ghost or poltergeist. It is not available online. So random falling stones coming from the sky, some of them actually moving very slowly.
All right. Well, there have been noted phenomenon. It's rare, but through weather, there are sometimes perfect weather conditions as far as how stuff is, where actually stuff will pick up due to weird wind and shit, and it'll rain weird items. That's been recorded several times. I think even in England there had been a chance where like it rained stones at some point because of how the wind kind of swept up from the ocean to just get trapped in the clouds for a second and then drop down. There's been tales of things like raining frogs and stuff like that and other things. So my guess is it's a meteorological event that happens. Now stones falling slower than others. Well, depending on the composition of the stones, some stones are lighter than others, so those may seem they're moving slower than other things. So most likely it's just a weird meteorological event that happened, and then just people are trying to put weird shit on it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm just a weird.
Just the slowly raining or the slowly falling from the sky part. That's what kind of got me.
Well, I just said it, depending on the composition, like if it's a really light, like what if it's a really light stones are really porous stone, so it has a lot of places where air can get trapped into it. It could feel like it's going slower. So, like a sandstone or something like that, where it's really porous, so like air could get trapped in there, or just kind of so that way it just has a lot of stuff where it can kind of come down slower. Like a wiffle ball will fall slower than just a completely enclosed ball because the air gets trapped and kind of maybe not greatly slower, but it's still gonna be slower. And then plus perception, uh, people may seem it goes slower too because just perception because people are so weirded out going, well, it can't be stones because it's coming from the sky, and so their mind they're already processing it by being slower. Who knows? It's weird. It's still a weird
Yeah,
phenomenon,
definitely.
regardless. It's like the tales of people who had frogs raining on them. That's still a weird story,
Oh yeah.
but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's a necessarily a supernatural event. Um, let's talk about the Hawkesbury River monster. So the Hawkesbury River is actually a river that kind of surrounds like 3/4 around Sydney, Australia, because that's where Sydney is. So there's a river that comes
Mhm.
around it. And so it's a big kind of like 21,000 square kilometer region of the river uh, that basically surrounds it. Now, supposedly, there's a creature in there that basically resembles like Nessie, Loch Ness Oreo, Champy, if you will, as well. Um, that's been there for a long time. But what's weird is that the idea of the creature dates back to indigenous times because the people who inhabited that area, called the Daruk, had they part of their Dreamtime stories involves a creature that comes out of that river, and so even since the earliest, like the beginning of the 20th century, there had been sightings of the Hawkesbury River monster. Um, but the only thing weird is fact is that while it may be there are differences and similarities. Like some people equate it to looking like a giant crocodile or a weird seahorse or even a bunyip. Um, but the one thing that they say is true is the fact that it is a sandy brown reptile looking thing that is usually placid and is usually just as soon as it's seen it kind of takes off. Now, the rational explanations for what you believe to be in the monster are things that do actually live in the area. Just it might be things like I don't know, a giant rogue crocodile because those are real and they can get big as fuck. We
Mhm.
have that is real. It could be a catfish, an overly sized catfish, because like catfish are like goldfish. Like they'll get as big as their surroundings will let them.
Mm.
I've seen catfish as big as as big as a Volkswagen, because that's just they're in a place where they can get away with being that big.
My friend's grandfather caught a, what was it, a almost 7 foot catfish in a lake in Oklahoma.
Yeah, if there's no other thing there to really trying to get them other than humans,
Mm.
then yeah, they're gonna get big as fuck. Like Squaw Creek Reservoir, which is just outside of Granbury, Texas, where I grew up, is a man-made lake that's used for the cooling system for the Comanche Peak nuclear power plant. And so they populated the thing with fish, and so catfish are there, and they have nothing better to do, just get fat. And they would do things like sit on top of the sunken, because it's a reservoir, so there's weird like human made shit in the water, like a car,
Mm-hmm.
and they're but it's because it's a reservoir and very clear because there's not really like a passing water in so much as far as like from another river, so the water keeps pretty clear, so it's less muddy. So a lot of people will go scuba diving in there just to train and just to do such, and like they totally see like big ass catfish like the size of like a Volkswagen Bug sitting on another car, just fat and happy.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think a catfish would go after a human like that, but still, like, I'd probably be a little worried if I saw a giant catfish like that.
Well, yeah, they say it's like they just see a shape and they get closer and it kind of darts off. It's like nobody's been really attacked by the monster; they just see it.
Mm.
So the fact is, like a giant, like big ass fucking catfish. I mean, because you're not, cause you think fish, you don't think that big. I mean, even in general, you like even like you think ocean fish. I mean, like you don't think of fish that big. Once you get that size, you're thinking like thinking of not fish. You're thinking of shark, whale, that sort of stuff. And it's a lake, so unlikely of that either of those things being so.
Yeah.
Lake monster.
So we're getting close to the end. I found
Yeah.
one. There was one that I found, but technically it's New Zealand, so I guess we can leave that off the list for now.
I mean, that's fine. I mean, I think it's close enough. We're fine. I mean, for us, I think it's fine. But I figured New Zealand and Australia are probably happy we don't talk about that because they're such a big demographic for us. Which you
Yeah,
guys
this
should
is
make sure you
true.
tune in.
Yeah,
Uh,
all our New Zealand listeners and followers. Okay, we'll go for it then.
yeah.
It does pertain to Australia, so it's okay. So, Dusky Sound Beast. Dusky
Okay.
Sound, a fjord at the bottom of New Zealand's South Island, is the last place you would expect to find a kangaroo. And yet, in 1831, Australian sailors reported seeing not just a kangaroo, but a giant kangaroo. See, Australian sailors, so it's fine. Dusky Sound is a complex system of inlets and coves where narrow passages are flanked by impossible cliffs. It was on one of these cliffs that crew from the whaling ship Sydney Packet sighted an animal that looked like a kangaroo eating leaves from a tree. The appearance of a uniquely Australian animal in the frigid depths of New Zealand was strange enough, but when the men measured the animal against the tree, they estimated its height at 30 feet.
Okay.
Yeah, so a 30-foot tall kangaroo just chilling in the snow.
Well, yeah. I mean, makes sense. I mean,
Makes perfect sense.
sure, that's what I would do if I got hot. I mean, I'm keep cool. I mean, what's weird? This is just an aside, not really getting into detail, but like that's not the first time they talk about a lot of creatures being. There's giant versions of a lot of creatures in the deep bush of Australia. Things like giant rabbits and wombats and stuff like that too. So it would not
Giant
surprise
crocodiles.
me. Well,
Huh?
the giant crocodile. No,
That's normal.
that's fact. I mean, well, what we consider like okay, what's okay? What we consider giants getting into that 15-foot range of crocodiles, which do really exist. not the like 30-foot ones that people are kind of want.
Oh, I know. I saw the documentary Lake Placid.
I know, right? So we
What did
got
this guy?
about 10 minutes to go. Do you want to? Well, I mean, I figured the one thing you want to talk about the Yowie, don't you?
Yeah.
I figured you wanted to talk about the Yowie.
Yeah.
I'm trying to find which people watching. What's the Yowie? Just you wait. I'm trying to find the one thing I
Similar to
was
the
supposed
Great
to.
Harry Mohawk.
Yeah, of course. Like you do.
Mm-hmm.
Where's that one thing? There's one more I want to look at, but I've been bouncing back and forth with a couple different things to look at. And of course, I stepped away and I can't remember where I saw the other thing at. Because that's how a bunch of a professional I am.
Well, I mean, I can go into the Yowie and we can end with yours.
That's true, or depending on what the timeline is. I mean, also, let's talk about the Yowie.
Okay. So, the Yowie, much like, Bigfoot, has several different names, but I think the Yowie has a lot more. Because it's also called the Yoser, the Jangara, the Yauri, the Yaho, the Koyoriowen, the Loan, the Jimbra, the Turamuli, the Jingara, and the Yuri,
Of
but
course.
most commonly called the Yowie. And here's a really fun fact. Here's a fun fact about the Yowie. It actually has a Latin scientific name. Yeah, it's the Gigantopithecus australis.
Sure.
Yes, so Gigantopithecus, so giant. I think that means bipedal.
Yeah, it's
In
giant
Australis,
bipedal
Australia.
man. Yeah, giant
Yeah,
bipedal.
yeah. Um, Although mostly associated with the eastern states, the Yowie is worth mentioning here as they have been known to migrate, and as the Western Australian outback is so vast, there's no telling when one may be encountered there. The Yowie is possibly related to the American Bigfoot or Sasquatch and is very similar in appearance. A cousin of these creatures is the Yeti of Southeast Asia. There are some Aboriginal Dreamtime legends about battles with a race of hairy ape men, with an empathetic victory going to the Aborigines because of their use of weapons, whereas the ape men fought only with their bare hands. All Yowie appear to be men or ape-like, but much taller than humans and covered with some sort of long hair or fur. Yowies are said to smell like the sparks given off by an electrical appliance as it burns out, so it is easy to tell if one is lurking about because the smell is so strong. That's one of the few differences between Yowies and, you know, uh, pretty much all the other ones. Yowies smell like an electrical fire, whereas all the rest smell like skunks or smell gross, smell musty, dirty. But this one smells like an electrical fire, which could mean that they are the actual ones that are doing the time traveling. The electricity builds up, boom. It's like, wait, I smell something. It smells like an electrical fire. Oh shit, it's a Yowie. He's like running through the woods, like, hey, what are you doing?
Yowie!
Yowie! That's how they got their name, going Yowie, because they're on fire from the electrical fire. We figured it out. Yeah, I mean, Yowie, it's basically just, Bigfoot, but Australian Bigfoot. Bigfoot.
Bigfoot. Yeah,
Bigfoot.
that's good. Yeah. All
Yeah.
right, All right, cool. I want to end on a fun one. Because the Yowie's still fun, but we're gonna end on the Gunny. Uh,
Gunny.
the Gunny. I
It's
love
just
the
a gun
Gunny.
with legs, like bang, bang, bang.
Gunni, Gunny. The Gunny is a wombat-like cryptid with antlers. Basically, the Gunny is the Australian jackalope. Literally, the Marysville visitors information that they actually have a stuffed Gunny, and so as supposedly three have actually been found, or Gunai, sorry,
Gunai.
Gunai. That's how you pray. Yeah, Gunai. Supposedly found back in 1967.
There we go.
The Gunai.
Sorry, I was looking it up to
Gunai.
see if I could see a picture of it, but I came across Gunai eucalyptus greenery. So Gunai eucalyptus is also a thing.
Yeah, so the Gunai are Turpus Malalis Cimax, the Latin. There we go. Um, it's their jackalope, which I think is kind of fun.
Hell yeah.
Uh, that's really cool. So, as three have only ever been found, it's basically considered to be like a jackalope now. But I'm kind of curious. I kind of want to get a stuffed gunai. I'm not gonna lie, because that'd be kind of cool to have. You know, everybody's got a fucking jackalope, but you can get a
Oh
gunai.
yeah.
Yeah, let's see what I can do. I'm gonna talk to some people. All right, so we're just about out of time. Let's get plugs out of the way. You got anything you need to plug?
Um, I've got one show this weekend, and you're not allowed at it. It's a kids' party, private party, for a good friend of mine for his kids.
Hey.
We were talking about it the other day. He's Hispanic, but he was like, I did what's that Irish thing that y'all do? And I'm like, I don't even know if I'm full Irish, man. He was like, well, you're white. But anyway, the Irish twins, his kids were born pretty much a year apart, like within a week. So yeah, Irish twins. My buddy, yeah, and I'm going to perform at his kids' party, bring some spiders out, and juggle, and all the fun stuff. And then other than that, I don't think I have anything going on this weekend. Well, I think Repticon is this weekend, and I have money, so that's kind of scary.
Well, just don't get too crazy.
We'll see.
Well,
I'm really
if they have a
picky,
good,
but also
yeah,
sometimes I just want to buy stuff.
if they have a gunai or one of these Australian things we talked about, Repticons
And
would
the
probably.
only out of the ordinary thing I've ever seen at a reptile expo was when I was a kid. There was a two-headed turtle, and I'm bummed that I couldn't get it because it was only like $250. But now, if you come across a two-headed turtle, it's going to be $1,000 fucking dollars.
Well, like multi-limbed or two-headed anything nowadays is worth it's like dumb a cost as far as some of this stuff because you're going on. Well, it's cool, but collectors.
Yeah.
And we say this as we want the thing too. So just
Yeah.
yeah. Supply and demand. All right. So what's going on with me? So right after this show here on Twitch, you can watch My Man Godfrey, which is a really great film from the 1930s. Really fun comedy. Tomorrow, I've got the Planet Lisdoms talking with a really great cosplayer by the name of Alexa Morgan out of Canada. And then I've got the Devil's Hour right after that, which I'll be showcasing the music of Apache, our good old buddy doing a stunt. Phoenix Fire will be on.
Nice.
And then Miss Cherry Delight, who's this amazing shock rocker out of New York. And then Thursday on the G Spot, I will actually be talking with Miss Cherry Delight about music. She just released a new single. Her new video is going to be dropping on the Fangoria site exclusively, which is kind of fucking boss. So it's a lot of fun. And then we'll have some more fun later in the week. And then next week on this show, we're going to be talking about Cursed Hollywood, the Cursed Hollywood stories and myths and legends from all the weird stuff from, all the way back from Black Dahlia all the way up to, the weirdness that is.
Why Creed is still popular.
Yeah. Why and the mysteries that is the whole Fast and Furious franchise. So
why do people want
just
to watch cars drive so much?
I don't know. It's about family. Anyways, let's go ahead and get out of here. So everybody be safe, be cool, be groovy, and as always, keep drinking.